It's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, My Asexual Life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual, and I share my asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. So if you haven't already subscribed, subscribe and hit the bell icon right now. So in today's episode, we're going to be discussing sexual attraction. Asexuality is a lack of sexual attraction, but what on earth does that actually mean? If you've been pondering this, wondering about it, and maybe you don't quite understand what lack of sexual attraction is, if you either don't feel it yourself or you can't fathom how no one in the world could actually not experience sexual attraction, this episode is for you. First of all, if you don't know who I'm Sandra Bellamy, author of this awesome Asexual Perspectives book on Amazon, and it is Asexual Perspectives Awareness Month this month. And just like the book, this celebrates our diversity across the asexual spectrum and our differences within it. So I'm going to be reading from this book. But here's a copy I made earlier. So we're going to be talking about different asexual perspectives on what it means to have a lack of sexual attraction. And this is Silje's story. Asexuality is a lack of sexual attraction. As an asexual, what does this mean to you? When I look at someone, I notice little things: eye colour, the shape of their nose, jawline, earring or absence of teeth, other facial piercings, hair colour and style. I cannot tell you what they're wearing. I can never remember because there is nothing of interest that low except shoes. Besides that, I mostly think, whoa, what a rad friend you'd make, or whoa, you're a very attractive, stay that way. And I think that is very typical for asexuals, like when I'm attracted to a guy, I'm particularly attracted to Indian guys, as you know, I'm attracted to the face, not below the waist, I like to say. So basically, this means I notice the guy's eyes, the guy's teeth, the guy's smile and lips, his nose, his ears, his hair, his skin color, his beautiful face, where he's clean shaven or not clean shaven, his shoulders, that type of thing. And so for me, it's like a guy's face and frame, it's like this part, this here and here. That's the main bit I'm interested in. And so outside of that, I'm not really that fussed, if you know what I mean. I do tend to go for skinny guys. Like, I tend to be most interested in skinny guys, but quite a lot of the guys I like lately happen to go to the gym. So that's quite an interesting one. But I'm interested in a guy's face, not below the waist. And that's why I really prefer a guy to be clean shaven for kissing, because I'm just in heaven when I kiss a clean shaven guy. You know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, baby soft skin. It's so nice. So lovely and nice. So yeah. So this is Kenneth's story. So asexuality is lack of sexual attraction. As an asexual, what does this mean to you? It means I don't look at someone and go, how they look makes me desire to have sex with them. I experience aesthetic attraction, and I feel like a lot of the time, I'll start that bit again. I experience aesthetic attraction, and I feel like a lot of the time sexuals don't understand the difference between the two. Or at least it can be difficult to explain to my sexual friends that I don't want sex with someone, but I still think they're good looking. I look at someone and I like their long hair or their brown eyes, and it ends there. I might want to cuddle them, hold them, have them near to me, but I don't think about sex or how they'd look naked. And that is exactly how I feel. Like, I look at a guy's hair and his face. I was on a video call with a guy a little while ago from Badoo, not that long ago. And Badoo is a dating app, and he's Indian. I think we're just going to be friends, but it was nice to see him. And I did say that I like Indian hair and smile and ears, and he went really red, bless his heart. He seems like a lovely guy, really honest guy, actually. Not very many of those around. So I think we'll probably end up being good friends. It could be nice. It'd be nice to have a good Indian friend, even though obviously he is attractive to me. But yeah, so that's what I was saying, that I was trying to explain to him that when I look at a guy, like with particularly Indian guys, I like their hair and their eyes and their nose and their mouth and their ears and all that type of thing. Because as an asexual person, that's what I'm attracted to. I'm attracted to a guy's face, not below the waist. I couldn't really care less what happens below the waist, And so I really relate to Kenneth's story in Asexual Perspectives book. And you know, it's hard when people don't understand that asexual attraction is different to sexual attraction, and romantic attraction is different to sexual attraction. A lot of people just lump them all together. So for a heterosexual guy, he's usually romantically, aesthetically, and sexually attracted to the person, but he would just put that down as sexual attraction. He wouldn't separate into the fact that he finds the person aesthetically good looking, and that's separate to sexual attraction usually. Usually most guys would like sex with the person who they think is good looking. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, heterosexuals tend to be very different. And so it's important when you're asexual to know your own mind and know what the differences are, because if you end up with a person potentially wanting a relationship with you who's heterosexual and they don't understand asexuality and you're not totally understanding yourself, they may misunderstand you when you say, oh, you're really good looking, you know, unless you point out that I'm really attracted to you, but I don't want sex with you. If you're an asexual that doesn't want sex, that could get very confusing for a heterosexual person. So I'm usually very upfront and like, I don't like sex. I don't want sex. I don't need sex. I'm not sexually attracted to anyone, you know? And it's difficult because earlier on when I was on Badoo, I was talking to another guy and he was like, oh, like, you're not going to find a guy in his 20s that doesn't want sex, you know, unless they're a monk. And I thought that's really like rude. It's like the only people that don't have sex are like monks. And I'm like, well, actually, there are thousands of asexuals around the globe. And I have met asexual guys in their 20s who don't want sex, just who are asexual. Just they usually, so far, they're not the right guy for me, you know? I've never come across an asexual guy who's the right guy for me yet, you know? It's just the way it is. So it's a hard battle when you're trying to find the right person for a relationship. It's really difficult. But I believe, you know, I have hope and faith. You know, I know some asexuals that are actually married to other asexuals. So there are people who are in asexual relationships who found the love of their life and their soulmate. You know what I mean? So it does happen. With me, it's harder because I like Indian guys and my culture is very different to their culture. You know what I mean? And I like younger guys. So that puts more of a spanner in the works. But, you know, when I had like guys in Badoo going, oh, you're not going to get someone, I just said that's limiting beliefs. That's their beliefs. It's not mine. You know, there are guys out there that do like older girls, and there's bound to be some asexual guys that like older girls because there's, you know what I mean? If there's heterosexual guys that like older girls, there's bound to be some asexual guys in the world that like older girls and that just prefer that because, you know, it exists that some people like older people and some older people like younger people. It's just the way it is in life. So I don't believe that there's no one out there for me. And yes, I'm very good at being single and on my own, you know, anyway. So, but it would be nice to find someone for a relationship. It's hard because obviously, if I went for a heterosexual guy, that just would make things very complicated in the sense that I'm very asexual. I used to have sex in the past, but I can't do that anymore. So that is very hardcore in that sense. But you know what I mean? I don't believe that there's no one out there for me. And if there isn't a guy that's suitable for me, I'll just stay single forever at the end of the day. So there we go. But I think it's you know, I think this person's right, Kenneth, when they said I might want to cuddle them, hold them, have them near to me, but I don't think about sex or how they'd look naked. And that is like what I think. I'm not interested in nakedness. Like I like guys with their clothes on. I think they look far better clothed than naked, to be honest. I don't know what you think. Post in chat. Right. So asexuality is a lack of a sexual attraction as an asexual. What does this mean to you? This is Fiora's story. Asexual Perspectives 217 page. I don't like using the term sexual attraction because it's so vague and many sexuals don't even know what it means. Ha ha. To me, sexual attraction is the innate desire for partnered sex, as that's the one thing that aces seem to consistently lack. I usually make things simpler and just describe asexuality as not having any desire to have sex with someone else, which is basically what lacking sexual attraction is. You lack the desire to have sex with someone else. So yes, I would agree with their definition there. Asexuality is not having any desire to have sex with someone else, basically, on an innate need basis, right? So asexuality is the lack of sexual attraction as an asexual. What does this mean to you? Sometimes I wish I understood what sexual attraction feels like. I never quite understood what my friends meant when they thought someone was hot, but I went along with it anyway. I find certain people aesthetically pleasing, but it does not make me want to have sex with them. And so, yeah, I can still find girls hot, I can still find them so hot as in I want to snog their face off, but not hot as in I want to have sex with them. So for me, because I'm a hyper kisser and a hyper romantic, I look at a guy and think, God, I just want to snog him for hours. I just want to snog him more and more and more. You know what I mean? When he's really good looking, I'm like, oh my God, I want to kiss his nose. I want to stroke his hair, run my fingers through his hair. I want to kiss his neck. I want to kiss his earlobes and blow into the ears. Guys love that, by the way. Sexual guys love that a lot. If you blow into their ears, it turns them on. Not that I need them turned on and wanting sex with me, but I just like to please the guy, but not to the extent of having sex with them. So yeah, it's really weird because obviously I used to be in heterosexual relationships for years, so I kind of know what guys like, but I don't want to have sex. It's quite strange, but there we go. So yeah, I know I know personally as an asexual, I can find someone hot. And so that's very different to some other asexuals. But hot to me is like, God, you're so aesthetically gorgeous that I just want to stroke your hair and kiss and cuddle you and be with you and be close to you and spend time with you. And, it's like that. That's what it's like for me. So, yeah, very interesting. And what does Henry think? Henry says he believes that asexuality is the lack of sexual attraction as an asexual. For him, this means the lack of a cognitive and conscious desire for sexual intercourse with other people. I found that very fascinating. A cognitive and conscious desire for sexual intercourse with other people. Yeah. I mean, I don't have any desire for sexual intercourse with other people, not consciously, not unconsciously. And so I find that quite an interesting way he's phrased that. And for Claire Evelyn, she would rather describe it as a lack of sexual interest. So that's her definition basically of a lack of asexuality is a lack of sexual attraction. She would rather describe asexuality as a lack of sexual interest. So that's very interesting. And then Samantha says a lack of sexual attraction means that I don't want to have sex ever. And so I think that's very true for sex repulsed asexuals in particular. Like, I think particularly asexual sex repulsors, we don't want sex with anyone. So Juanita's story. Asexuality is a lack of sexual attraction as an asexual. What does this mean to you? Most of the time, I'm attracted to everyone on the same level, which is that I recognize beauty and loving people and their senses of humor and characters, but I don't necessarily want to have sex with them. This has led me to question if I'm really gay, because I find men as attractive as women on this generic level, but I don't want to actually have sex with anyone. The idea of it freaks me out. But in saying that, when I really get to know someone on an intimate level, then I think about becoming more intimate and fantasize about kissing. But still, I get blocked at the idea of actually having sex. I might think about sex or even watch porn, but flatline when it goes beyond kissing. But if I have, oh, I'm turning a page now. But if I have, but if I love them, not have them, but if I love them, I will go beyond the kissing, but really only to keep them happy, not really for myself. So yeah, it's very difficult, isn't it? Because it's very interesting, because I sometimes look back at my life, and obviously I'm an asexual who has had sex in the past, and I'm interested in Indian guys, and I think what would have happened if I hadn't met an Indian guy back then when I did like sex. But I didn't like sex. I can't believe I said that. I've never liked sex. When I had sex, but I didn't like sex. When I don't know where to put it. So I didn't like sex. I've never liked sex. So I don't know why I said that. But what I'm trying to say is I didn't like sex, but I had sex. But it wasn't a horrible experience for me. So I wonder if I met an Indian guy back then when I used to have sex, and if I was in a serious committed relationship with him, if it would have been different, I would still be having sex now. But then I would never have found out I was asexual. I can't believe I just said about liking sex, but I didn't like sex. I just didn't have, when I had sex, I just didn't have a bad experience of it. Like when I last had sex, like I didn't hate it. But now I'm very sex repulsed. Now when I think about having sex, I can't bring myself to do it. And I just have a complete like eek about it, you know? And I know that I've kissed guys a lot and I don't feel any sexual attraction. Like I don't feel any need or urge or want for sex with someone. And so asexuality obviously is a spectrum ranging from those who don't experience any sexual attraction whatsoever to those who experience it, but only in the limited, rare, or specific circumstances, or they experience it enough but not to want to act on it. So obviously asexuality is a broad spectrum of different types of asexuals. But I do think like if I'd have met an Indian guy years ago, like would I have actually been having sex still and maybe even married to an Indian guy? Because years ago I used to want marriage as well, as I didn't really get that interest in sex. So one of my long-term relationships, I think I was with a guy for like 6 years and 10 months. And I think we only had sex a handful of times in all that time. That's not a lot, is it really? And then the last long-term relationship I was in, we would sometimes go for 2 to 3 months without having sex, which I really liked that idea and that concept because I worked out the only time I would even want to have sex, if I want's even the right word, which it probably isn't nowadays, because I didn't actually want it. But the only time I'd be like thinking it's okay would be once every 3 months maximum, so 4 times a year. But even then I thought it's a bit much. So my ex, he used to like having sex at like special occasions, like at Christmas and stuff. But it's kind of horrible when you're expected to do that at certain times of the year. Do you know what I mean? It's like if you don't feel like doing it, but he was like wanting that. He was quite a sexual guy, I guess. Um, but yeah, but nowadays I just don't want sex at all. And it does make dating relationships a lot harder because the majority of people in the world want sex and they want a lot of it. I met one Indian guy on Badoo the other day and he's like, "Oh, it's a shame you're asexual," because he said it would be good if you weren't, because he was interested in me. We played a game because you can play a game on Badoo dating site, and we got a lot of the questions the same. And it's like we're very similar. And he did like me, and he said it's just a shame you're asexual because I need sex like every day. I was quite shocked by that actually, but not so much because I usually get the guys who really love a lot of sex after me. But I'm like every single day, I'm like, oh my God, the average sexual guy, as far as I know, the average heterosexual like sex 3 times a week on average. But he said every day. I'm like, "Geez, like, your bits would be dropping off by then, surely," you know what I mean? I know some guys are really like that, but I've had one guy I dated once, and I remember it, and he was like, "Oh, I was with my ex for, like, 11 years, and we used to have sex every day," and I'm, like, thinking, "Oh my God, what am I doing here?" Like, I can't even fathom having like, even when I was having sex in my last relationship, it was every 2 to 3 months. Well, sometimes we did it quite a few times in one time and one specific area of time, but, like, 2 to 3 months without any sex, that was much better for me, and I'm like, "Oh," you know what I mean? So, I think, personally, lack of sexual attraction for me, and as I define it, is you don't get the need, urge, or want for partnered sexual intercourse. There's no innate need or innate desire there or innate want. It's not built it within you. You're not wired that way. So for heterosexuals, for example, they usually see someone, they like the look of them, so they might like the aesthetic look of them. But for them, it really makes them want to have sex and they get this urge, and it's like, oh, I really gotta have sex with that person. So when they experience arousal, for example, heterosexuals, it usually is arousal with a something in their brain or whatever and their body that says I want sex, but I don't get that. I can get high levels of arousal but zero sexual attraction. So when I think about like kissing, I can get aroused without even anyone being involved. But the arousal is just like excitement and feeling and genitalia. It's got nothing to do with sex whatsoever for me. Just like love's got nothing to do with sex. I don't think that sex and love are one and the same because they're not, and I don't link them. I do know some people that love each other, want to have sex with each other. I get that. I get they want that really deep physical intimacy, but there's a high risk of pregnancy when you do that. STIs, STDs, it gets very messy, and the list of stuff could go on. And I have had sex in the past, but I personally think kissing is so much better. I just love kissing to this day. I absolutely adore it, like a favorite hobby. To me, kissing is the peak of excitement, not sex. To me, sex is just like, well, it's been a long time since I did that, nearly 12 years. But for me, sex is like, okay, I'm just doing it really because my partner wants to do it, not because I'm that interested in it. And I'd rather not be doing it. But the kissing, it's like I can't do without the kissing. The kissing is very addictive, actually. It's because it releases chemicals like dopamine, serotonin, the feel good happy chemicals, and I can kiss for hours. So whereas sex like could last about 5 minutes, it could be kissing for hours and you're getting constant dopamine and serotonin that's just making you feel high for hours. I mean, personally, like, which one's more appealing? Well, I guess if a guy gets tired easily, he might just want the sex for 5 minutes and then go off to sleep. But if you want to lead an exciting, wonderful, exciting, hyper extroverted, high energetic octane life and relationship, I say the kissing's much better because you know what I mean. I get so high off kissing sometimes I feel like I'm on the ceiling. I love kissing so much. Just see, I'm talking about kissing and I'm getting like all excited. But for me, with kissing, like sometimes it's arousal, I feel. Other times it's just peak excitement, as in I'm like a little kid that's got a best favorite present she's opening for her birthday. Do you know what I mean? That type of excitement. Like, oh, I've got my favorite gift here. Oh, let's get excited and open it. So yeah, but for me, I don't get sexual attraction. I get kissing attraction. An aesthetic attraction. My aesthetic attraction, romantic attraction, and my needs for kissing is as strong as some sexual attraction and sexual desire, for example. And so I do understand heterosexuals when they say they love and want sex from the point of view of I love and want kissing so much. So I understand them, but for me, I just kind of don't understand why more of them don't like kissing so much. I'm just thinking, to me, there is absolutely no comparison. Kissing wins over every single time in terms of it's a lot more safer because you don't get pregnant with kissing. Like STIs and STDs, like if you're kissing in the mouth, you don't usually get that. Obviously, if you're kissing genitalia, you can still get stuff in your mouth. But for me, it's like kissing lasts for hours, whereas sex could last for a very short amount of time. And kissing, you can like feel the person's body close to you if you're in a really tight hugging kissing, if you know what I mean. And you can just be intertwined, your bodies can be intertwined and at one with each other for a very long time without actually having sex. I think that's much more passionate, much more beautiful, much more sensual. I just much prefer that, and I don't understand why more people in the world don't like kissing. But I know a lot of asexuals don't like kissing. A lot of asexuals, they just like pecks on the cheek or a little bit of like pecks on the lips. And I'm like, okay, but that's what they do. And I respect that most asexuals are like that, but I'm not like that at all. So I don't fit into the normal asexual box, if you like, and I don't fit into the heterosexual box because obviously I'm asexual. I don't experience any sexual attraction despite high arousal levels sometimes, and I'm not interested in sex. It's hard because obviously I am on Badoo. I am on well, I've taken a break from Facebook dating. I got so fed up with it. But it's like the guys on Badoo, they all want sex, but most of them are bad sex guys anyway. They just want the sex. They don't even want a relationship. I've changed my filters now to try and find someone who doesn't want kids, who doesn't want sex on there, and who's looking for a serious you can't put it to who doesn't want sex on there. So I've changed my filters to doesn't drink, doesn't want kids, which is good because, sex is involved in that usually, and who's a non-smoker. But I keep changing those settings, setting them, and they keep changing them back again. Drives me nuts. That's how come I find an actual nice Indian guy, but he said that he might want kids someday, even though he put on his profile he doesn't. So that was a bit disappointing, and it seems like he will need sex at some point, even though he's not like his mates who are out hooking up all the time. He's not a hookup guy, which I really admire about him. He's been honest with me, which is nice. He seems like a really honest guy. I seem to have things in common with him as well. So yeah, he's an extrovert, he said, and he doesn't drink, doesn't smoke. He eats quite a lot of the same foods as me as well, and he's quite a clean, healthy guy. But he doesn't go out clubbing, and he's not into hookups. So yeah, and he doesn't like lying. So I think that's all really good stuff. He does have facial hair, unfortunately, but yeah, he said he'd probably want to try sex at some point. So I can't be the right girl for him, which is a shame because I think I get on well with him already. But we'll see how that goes. He lives in the UK, so my second favorite city of the whole of the UK is London. He lives there, so yeah. So it's not impossible for me to meet up with him, but it looks like I can only be his friend because he probably wants to try sex at some point, and it's like, okay. I understand him because as an asexual person, I'm a person that's actually glad that I did try sex, even though I'm asexual, because I'm not curious about what that's like. And I think I probably would have been curious, but I don't know because obviously I've never even thought about it years ago. When I was a teenager, I only ever thought about romance and kissing. I didn't think about sex at all. And I don't look at guys and think, I want sex with you. But I'm glad I tried it. So that kind of seems a bit weird. But I think maybe I would have been curious, but then maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I'm just thinking I would have been curious now looking back on it because I've done that. But then at the time, years ago, I didn't even think about having that. And if I'd never had it in my life, I probably would have been fine. So because I wouldn't have thought any differently. I wouldn't have been thinking I want to try it. From my memory, I got a really good memory. I didn't think about that even when people were like hinting that, I never even got the hint. I just didn't have that in my brain. So it's strange, but I am glad I've tried it, but I don't think it's necessary to try it. I don't think you have to try it. I don't think you should try it if you don't want to try it. And with me, it wasn't about trying. It was about the fact I was pressurized into it actually at 16, which is the legal age in the UK. It's very young. I think the legal age for sex should be upped in the UK to 18 at least, if not 21. I just think it's far too young for people to be having sex at 16. I just don't think it's very good. I think that age should be higher, personally. But people always do what the hell they want anyway. So, yeah. And if I had have known I was asexual back then I probably might not even have had any relationship actually. So that's very interesting, isn't it? You know? So I'm glad I've had the experiences I've had in the sense that I can help other asexuals and I can help sexuals as well. Well, yeah, I can kind of help asexuals and sexuals together, if you know what I mean, bring them together because I have experience of both heterosexual relationships and understanding asexuals. But I do think it's difficult, that there isn't more asexuals in the world. I think it's hard, but I don't think it's good to have limiting beliefs. I think it's better to believe you can have someone for a relationship. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone needs love, more importantly, and to be understood and to have trust and honesty and respect and caringness and kindness. That's what really matters in a long-term, serious and committed relationship, not sex. A good relationship is not based on sex. Even people that have sex, it's not based on sex. It's based on respect for each other and appreciating each other's differences. It's about caring about the other person and about really wanting the best for them in their life and wanting to help them achieve their greatest goals in life and vice versa. It's very important that we understand that relationships are about love and caringness and kindness and commitment and trust and honesty and being upfront and, you know, really like your authentic self, not pretending to be someone you're not. Because when people do dating and relationships, a lot of the time they're just pretending to be someone they're not. And they're just, like saying something for appearance's sake. But if you lack sexual attraction and you are genuinely asexual, it's best to say that you are up front. When I'm on a dating site, I'm honest. If guys aren't honest with me, that's not good for them. And, I had some terrible experiences early tonight because I played a game on Badoo. I like the games you can play. But one guy, I told him we're not suitable, right? And then he said he was on about, oh, well, what if we didn't have sex, but we just did making out? And making out, as far as I know, is touching breasts and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm not interested in a guy touching my breasts or seeing my naked body. He's like, oh, but, like you could try it. I'm like, I'm not interested in that. And they still kept going on, going, "Oh, I could live without sex, but it would be nice to make out and do make out." I'm like, "I'm not interested." I just told you we're not suitable. And he kept going on and kept coming back to me. In the end, I just blocked him. I thought, I cannot be doing with this type of guy. He's no good for me. And I don't understand why a guy keeps pursuing a girl, when I've said no. And, he's like, "Oh, you'll find it hard to get someone who's like the age you want, like 22, who doesn't want sex." And I'm like, that's just limiting beliefs and dismissive of who I am. So I won't tolerate that. Don't tolerate that, people. Do not allow someone to dismiss your asexuality and to tell you you can't get someone. It's limiting beliefs, and they want to trap you into thinking you've got to be with them because you can't get anyone else, and lying to you and deceiving you. This is not a good guy who does this, right? And good people, you'd better be on your own. I met one nice guy on Badoo. Like I said, I had a video call with him and he was a nice person, but he's a very honest person, which is good. So I think I'll stay connected to him. I only hope I don't fall for him really badly because he's not asexual. I was going to say he's not asexual. He's a guy who hasn't had sex because of waiting for the right person, basically, but he would like that. So he's not like a hookup guy, which is really nice. You don't get many guys like that in the world, but it's like, you know what I mean? And he might want kids someday, which I don't. Um, so there are some nice guys in the world, but they're few and far between. And a lack of sexual attraction is not the same as a lack of action. So a lack of sexual attraction is basically you don't get the need, urge, or want for partner sexual intercourse. This doesn't mean to say you can't have sex, because even if you have sex, it doesn't mean to say you're going to be sexually attracted to that person. It means you're just partaking in an activity that you've decided to do. It doesn't mean to say you look at them and want sex. It means you're just doing it for the sake of doing it, really, either to please your partner because you love them, because you like the activity to do as an activity, because you don't mind it. You know what I mean? These type of things. So anyway, I hope you found this video useful, helpful, insightful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon as we look at more asexual perspectives. I'll see you soon. Next video live stream. Lots of love. Bye to you.